Welcome to Bristol Bath Road Depot, home of the Intercity Class 47-8 fleet. Behind me stands 47816, pride of the fleet, Bristol Bath Road, quality approved, flanked by predecessors of an earlier era, D172 Peter Waterman's Ixion, and a 37-6 belonging to European Passenger Services. Just three of the types that Bath Road has given loving care and attention to in the past. In this programme, 48 hours in the life of a diesel depot, you'll share with us the experiences of servicing, maintaining, repairing and giving loving care and attention to a multitude of diesel locomotives at rest between tours of duty on the main lines of British Railways. I hope you enjoy the programme.
(47.845) passes West Ealing with a Glasgow to Brighton service in March 1995. This is one of 33 Class 47 locomotives operated by Cross Country, all of which were at the time allocated to Bristol Bath Road Depot. The former Western Region diesel shed is situated at the southern end of Templemead Station, and in its heyday was renowned for its variety of traction and the constant flow of loco movements. With the creation of the train operating units in April 1994, the depot came under the management of the Great Western Trains Company, before closing in the summer of 1995. Let's take a look at the depot's final traction allocation in May of that year. The bulk of the Bath Road fleet consisted of the Cross Country 47-8s, all of which were maintained on a contract basis. Following the closure, these locomotives were transferred to Crewe Diesel Depot. Bath Road also had on its books the four Great Western 47-8s. Although primarily an operator of HSTs, Great Western needs these 47s for the overnight sleeper services and for moving HST sets between depots for repair. Also maintained on a contract basis for European passenger services are some of the newly introduced fleets of Class 37-6s. Although the entire fleet of 12 were destined for Bath Road, only the first four to be converted actually made it: 37-601, 602, 604 and 609. Following the depot's closure, these would subsequently be transferred to nearby St Philip's Marsh, which is also operated by Great Western Trains. Finally, like every other depot, Bath Road had its allocation of Class 08 shunters. The depot was also responsible for carrying out A exams, servicing and fuelling of the crew-based Parcels 47s for Rail Express Systems, or RES as they're more commonly known, although major work was generally carried out at the loco's home depot. The Bath Road complex comprises three main buildings. The main shed is a 1962 conversion of the steam shed built in 1932 and has 6 roads, of which 5 and 6 on the left are used for locomotive servicing, and are separated by a wall from roads 1 to 4. The jacking shed was built in 1962 as the original diesel servicing facility and has 3 through roads. Finally, there is the heavy lift shop, purpose-built in 1932 with 3 single-ended loco birds. The daily operations of the depot are coordinated in the shift supervisor's office situated in the main shed. This is the nerve centre of Bath Road. Depot engineer John Cameron explains.
Here we are in the main shed office at Bath Road, and behind me we have the production status board, which is an ongoing indication of the state of play that regards production on the site. The first column is the work being carried out here in the main shed at Bath Road. It will indicate the locomotive stopped, when it was stopped, and the type of work that is being undertaken on that vehicle. The main shed picks up all the A to D exams and any running repairs and service repairs. The heavy lift shop picks up all the major heavy engine repairs or engine replacement. The jacking shed picks up any lifting work, jacking work for wheel sets, traction motors or bogie replacement. We also have on this board an indication of how we're achieving our target, contract target for cross country. Today we are achieving the target +1. With Great Western we're achieving 3 locomotives, which is their requirement, and we have 1 other loco, 816, which is stopped here for special prep for naming Bath Road. Here we also have communication through tops and ravers. So we also have an interlink system at the supervisor's fingertips.
We pick up the story on the morning of Wednesday the 17th of May in the heavy lift shop, where the engine and main generator are about to be removed from 43016, one of Great Western's HST power cars parked on road number 11. Before lifting can take place, the roof sections have to be removed. These are in 2 parts, one of which contains the exhaust system silencer. Having disconnected all the ancillary equipment from the vehicle, the power unit is then freed from the engine bed plate on the floor of the locomotive, after which a lifting beam is attached to the top of the power unit. The lifting beam is connected to the overhead crane. This has a capacity of 50 tons and spans all 3 berths. The actual lifting of the unit is a delicate operation, and the fitters have to take great care to ensure that it doesn't touch the sides of the locomotive. The crane operator is ideally positioned above the roof, where he can carefully monitor the lift. Bath Road was designated as a Level 5 depot at the start of the Component Exchange Programme in 1985. This programme required the staff to undertake work up to and including general overhaul, thereby eliminating the need for locomotives to visit main works. The main benefit of this change was the greatly reduced downtime for locos stopped out of traffic. Bath Road, for example, could undertake a G exam on an HST power car in just 4 weeks. Part of the overhaul involved the removal of the power unit, which would then be sent away by road to main works for overhaul, while a reconditioned one, already waiting at the depot, was fitted. The entire removal and refitting operation was a 3-day job. Once the power unit is free of the vehicle, the overhead traverser comes into its own. The weight of the HST power units vary. At dry weight, without oil and water, this Paxman tips the scales at 13 tonnes. The Merlys units nudge 17 tonnes. After removal, the power unit is lowered onto a specially modified rail wagon and shunted outside for transfer onto a road vehicle using the 50-ton gantry crane. This is what the depot staff face in the engine compartment after removal of a power unit. It would need to be thoroughly cleaned before the replacement unit is fitted. Also residing in the heavy lift shop on number 12 road is 37604, which is awaiting attention to a traction motor blower. On road 10 is one of Great Western Shunters, 08410, which is having the finishing touches to minor collision damage. This locomotive is used as a backup for the St Philip's Marsh and Old Oak Common Shunters, and still carries the old departmental grey livery. Over in the main shed, around lunchtime, one of the cross-country fleet, 47810, is undergoing a B exam. Here, the fitters are checking the locomotive's radiators, situated under the roof panels. A visual check is made to ensure that there are no coolant leaks and that the cooling fins are free of debris. A check will also be made to ensure that the roof slats automatically close once the correct water temperature has been reached. Air filters also need changing. On a Class 47, this means no less than 34 of them. During the course of any job, most fitters will pay a visit to the stores, better known as Aladdin's Cave. Another two satisfied customers for the storeman. Still in the main shed, the time is 14:15, and we move along to roads 5 and 6, the loco servicing point, where there's a problem with one of the res locos. The shunter we saw several hours earlier is now back in action. 47762 has developed a fault and won't start, and is blocking in 47721, which is needed for its next turn of duty. The 08 is hastily summoned to drag the fouled loco from the shed, thereby releasing the other 47. Note the covered set of St Bede nameplates on 47721. An industrial dispute prevented the loco's naming ceremony taking place in Leeds on the 26th of April, and it subsequently ran around for several weeks with them covered over. As the erstwhile St Bede hurries off to work the 5M24 TPO empties to Cardiff, the 08 shunter propels 47762 back into the servicing shed for further attention. To ensure maximum safety for its staff, Bath Road is fitted with a depot protection system. This gives an audible warning when any loco movement is taking place. It can be activated in one of two ways. Here, it's being operated manually by the supervisor. Note the original intercity liveried Class 47. Although a res loco, Norman Tunner GC has yet to receive the company's famous red livery. As a fail-safe mechanism, the audible warning device can also be activated when the small lever on the right is triggered by the locomotive's wheels passing over it. The system is also linked to derailleurs on all roads, and these can only be removed with a key held by the supervisor. Its shunting duties complete, 08410 returns to base, and the servicing shed returns to normal. Refuelling inside the shed is another non-res liveried celebrity, 47715 Haymarket, one of only 3 Class 47-7s left in the colours of Network South East.
Here we are in the jacking shed at Bath Road Diesel Depot, and behind me is Power Car 8. Power Car 8 was here for an E-exam where we changed the bogies, the cooler group, and carried out the E-exam as per VMOI 43. The exam is now complete and it's ready to go into service for cross-country. Here is 47816. 816 is to be named Bristol Bath Road, and at present is being prepared for repaint. We've cleaned the roof. It is now waiting for a coat of paint on the roof, where then it will travel from here to Marsh Junction for its final coat of paint. And over here, 37609, this locomotive is here, ex-Works, Doncaster Works, DRML, where it's had a G-exam. We are carrying out some G-exam repair items for DRML and for EPS. Once those repairs have been completed, it will go into service for EPS, for driver training and hauling stock for EPS.
It's now shortly after 3 p.m. and the afternoon shift are well into their stride. In the jacking shed, work is nearing completion on another Great Western shunter, 08643. Here, the side rods are being refitted, a task which requires them to be carefully aligned with the locomotive's wheel sets. Having successfully aligned the side rods, fitter Mark Jones can now slide in the assembly bolt. Shades of steam days here on this particular task, showing that some skills never die. With the tricky part completed, all that remains is to replace the cotter and retaining nut and tighten them up to the required tension. Every job carried out at Bath Road is recorded by technical clerk Cedric Catt, who has the responsibility of updating and maintaining the files and records of all locomotives, an essential requirement for any quality assured depot.
Well, this is the Technical Records Office, and in here all exams and repair work for Intercity Great Western, cross-country, RES, rail freight and regional railway locos and units come to this office for sorting and processing. All work done is input on the computer for technical records and depot performance calculation. For cross-country locos, a weekly exam program is produced. This is based on tops hours run, and the exams are scheduled at 300 hours intervals. Repair records are filed for the 33 Class 47 locos, which are based at Bristol Bath Road. records for other locos based at Crewe in Cardiff, etc., are sent off to their home depots. Now here I've got the folders for the cross-country locos, and this is for 47805, the history records, and in here I've got the details of component changes showing the bogie changes, traction motor changes, turbo blower changes that we do, and also records of ultrasonic axle testing. And these records are held for the life of the locomotive.
Bath Road has its own technical office, which is situated in the jacking shed. One of the functions here is to compile the performance statistics on the depot's fleet of Class 47/8s. Bath Road is targeted by Cross Country to provide 64% loco availability. The figure achieved in the final months was 72%. The technical team is led by Paul Ardiff, and the principal role is to provide technical support for the loco fleet and to manage the depot's IS 9002 quality system. The technical office houses locomotive documentation, which includes details on any modifications that may have been carried out. The facility exists to print out drawings and diagrams from records held on microfiche. At 5:30 p.m. in the jacking shed, and painting of the roof of 47816 is underway. This is part of the preparations for the loco's naming ceremony. The painting is being carried out to the same standard as applied to the famous Bath Road Royals. The body size will be hand painted at nearby Marsh Junction, as the painting bay in the jacking shed at Bath Road has already been dismantled. On the adjacent road, the finishing touches are being applied to power car number 8, which is scheduled to be back in traffic within 24 hours following the completion of its E-exam. As the sun sets, the depot lights go on, ready for the night shift. At 9:30 p.m, the servicing shed is empty, but ready for its first customers. Tonight's supervisor is Richard Simons, who interrogates the top system to assess what traction will be arriving for servicing, and at what times. The bulk of the night work is carried out on Res Class 47s, which working to Temple Meads on mail trains. Tops reveals the following loco arrivals, all scheduled within a 30-minute period between 0010 and 0040. 3 trains, 4 locos. Supervisor Simons informs the depot driver of the plan of action, which will also include returning power car number 8 to St Philip's Marsh.
It's coming down on the 1V04 tonight. 1V04. Confirmation of that was put through earlier on.
Yeah, I've seen it on the...
At precisely 0010, the depot is notified by Temple Meads box that the first arrival is on its way. The derailleur is unlocked, the protection device activated, and Bath Road is ready for its first customer. 47572, Ely Cathedral. Hot on the heels of 47572 comes the pair of locos off the Penzance Bristol, 47701 and 47568. The servicing shed is single-ended, with 2 roads, each containing 2 berths. One more makes a full house. There's a brief 20-minute wait until the next arrival. Just enough time to turn power car number 8 on the depot turntable before sending it across to St Philip's Marsh. To drive it there, it will need to be turned to face east. It's 25 past midnight, and the depot awaits the arrival of the fourth 47.
Hello, Bath Road. Road 5, please. Yes, please. Yeah.
The depot protection goes back on, so the servicing team can work safely. It's now a full house at Bath Road, and another 9 locos are expecting similar treatment during the night. The team of fitters set to work on the first 4. They will have to be completed by 2:30 AM when the next batch arrive. Each loco receives either a service check or an A exam. The service check includes 14 items, ranging from washing the windscreens to filling the fuel tanks. The servicing shed is equipped with 2 fuel dispensers, one serving the 2 rear locos and the other for the 2 at the front. Each is fitted with a meter, which is reset to 0 at the start of each fill. One item carried out on an A exam is the emptying of the bed plate drain, which contains oil and fuel spillages from inside the locomotive. To keep the front ends of the locos yellow, a high-pressure hose is used to blast away the dried insects that have accumulated during their recent journeys. 47701 takes on more than 800 litres of fuel. The final quantity is recorded and the bill passed on to RES. It's now 1:30 AM and the locos are nearly ready. Outside the servicing shed, a heavy clean is being given to one of Great Western's power cars. By 2 a.m, the first batch of exams are completed. The fitter's last task is to complete the documentation, confirming that the work has been carried out on each locomotive. The fitter will sign off against each specific task detailed in the exam schedule. It's 7:55 a.m. on Thursday the 18th of May. The Res 47s we saw being serviced in the early hours are now ready for traffic. For Bath Road, it's the start of the day shift, under the direction of Senior Supervisor Lee Jewell. He and his colleagues gather for the morning conference, chaired by the depot engineer.
Right, good morning, gentlemen. Morning. It's a bit wet and windy this morning. Right, off we go then, Lee.
47806 on the load bank. 47818 going on the jacks this morning
Right,
for bogey lift.
excellent, okay. And the speedo fall?
Yeah, I've changed the wheel wear compensate. Just trying to think whether any of the Great Western engines are electronic speedos.
828 over at Marsh Junction. The exam is completed, all except we've got an AWS defect. It has to have a coolant change and the greasing on the bogies.
Right, okay.
That's all the 478s.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 Parsons engines here.
Right.
568 for brake locks and a speedo defect number 1 end.
We've got that one manned up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
635 straightforward brake lock XA exam.
Yes.
774 for brake locks and a slack adjuster not working.
The briefing completed, we go out into the main shed, where the fitters are already at work carrying out brake lock changes on 47774 Poste Restant. The locomotive will be fitted with a full set of new shoes. This job is completed shortly after 10 a.m, and the 47 is ready to leave the main shed. The depot protection is unlocked, and we'll now board the locomotive for a trip through the confines of Bath Road. On the right is a stranger in the solid ranks of red machines, Transrail's 37407, which has arrived for servicing. Opposite Templemead Station, we stop to change ends. Just visible on the left is the disused yard signal box. The points behind us have been changed so we can return to the depot via the track behind the jacking shed. We pass the jacking shed on our right. Ahead is the heavy lift shop, and on the left, the Class 47 scrap line, with, from the front, 47509, 432 and 527. At the far end is 47508, the former SS Great Britain, whose derelict state now is in stark contrast to the occasion only 10 years ago when it was named by Her Majesty the Queen at Bristol Temple Meads. On the right is the main shed. Alongside are a set of HST bogies and one of the depot's breakdown recovery vehicles. We're about to pass under the 50-ton gantry crane, which is used to transfer large locomotive components onto road vehicles for onward transit to main works. Supervisor Lee Jewell waves the driver onto the 65-foot-long Bath Road turntable. We end this section with the site of a Class 47 being turned for the last time. In recent years, this facility has been used mainly for turning large lorries, delivering locomotive bogies and power units to the depot as part of the components exchange programme. In steam days, this operation would have been carried out by hand. Today, it all happens at the touch of an electric button. In the heavy lift shop at 10:50, it's the turn of 37604 to receive some attention, as a team of fitters prepare to remove the traction motor blower from the number 2 end. For this, the 5-ton hoist is used. As usual, the space is at a premium in the nose end of the 37. This locomotive, formerly Thornaby's 37506, had arrived at Bath Road from Doncaster Works following its conversion to a 37.6 for EPS. Bath Road have been asked to change the traction motor blower, a job that will be carried out under warranty on behalf of Doncaster Rail Maintenance Limited. That's more like it. Plenty of room in there now. John Cameron can now undertake a detailed inspection of the motor to locate the cause of the fault. And now for something completely different. An end-to-end overhead view of the heavy lift shop. The HST power car we saw having its power unit removed yesterday has now been refitted with a replacement. Behind is 08410, which has returned after yesterday's stint as depot shunter. (11:25 a.m. and in the servicing shed, Transrail's 37407 has been called in for its service check. This loco is taking a break from working the Regional Railway's Cardiff-Weymouth service. It calls into Bath Road once a week during the course of this diagram. The 37 is given the same treatment we saw during the night with the res engines. Once again, Bath Road is undertaking the work on behalf of its owner, Transrail, who will of course be billed for the service, and for the 354 litres of fuel the loco has consumed. After the fuel, oil and water, there's a few final checks to be made with the engine running. Shortly after midday, we go back to the jacking shed, where 47818 is about to be lifted. This will enable a thorough inspection of the locomotive's underframe. For this operation, both sets of jacks are used. Each has a capacity of 140 tonnes. Sadly, this is the last time on which a locomotive lift will be performed at Bath Road. The servicing shed, meanwhile, continues to do brisk business, always ready to help anyone from anywhere. At 12:30, there's an impromptu visit from an RFD 47, which has called in for repairs to a defective headlight. The problem is quickly rectified, and the loco is back in traffic within 40 minutes. Another satisfied customer. In the main shed, another two 47.8s are undergoing B exams. Also housed inside this building is Bath Road's very own test shop, in which various locomotive components can be tested. This, for example, is a mock-up of a Class 47 braking system. Components from locomotives can be inserted into it for analysis and to check their effectiveness. Another bench has been designed to test some of the smaller locomotive components, such as valves, switches and wiper motors. One of the benefits of in-house testing is that requests from fitters can be met almost immediately.
Well, Jack. Oil sample 47825. Have I done that? Urgent. Is it? Okie dokie.
Bath Road's test shop is run by Jeff Neal, and one of the services he provides is on-the-spot analysis of locomotive lubricants, such as this request from fitter's assistant Colin Parker. The results are to hand in less than 10 minutes.
Well, that one's fine.
Outside the main shed at 1:15, the res engines await their next turn of duty. Next loco off Bath Road is 47524, ready to work its next mail train. A little known fact is that Bath Road has its own load bank for testing locomotive power units. John Cameron again.
This is the load bank at Bath Road. This is where we deceive the locomotive into believing it's working at maximum power, at maximum speed. Behind me, 47806 is plugged into the load bank. We are going to measure what its power output is, what the temperatures of the oil and coolant are, and what the working conditions are like in the vehicle. We hope to achieve 2,364 brake horse here. We'll just wind up the engine to see what happens. By taking the maximum voltage and ammeter readings from the main generator, we can calculate what the maximum brake horsepower output is of this locomotive. It should be 2,364 brake horse. Keith's showing us that it's 2,329, slightly below our maximum but acceptable, which it is.
Our two-day visit to Bath Road concludes with the depot's filthiest job, locomotive underframe cleaning. It may be the worst task for the depot team, but it's one of the most important. Regular cleaning of the bogies with hot water at high pressure removes all the particles of brake shoe dust and other debris, and thus prevents underframe and bogie fires. And if you're wondering what an underframe fire looks like on a Class 47, here's one we filmed earlier. 47438 is passing Eastleigh on the 16th of February 1989 with the southbound Wessex Scott. And when Bath Road say they clean under the loco, they mean under the loco. "147 out of traffic, 147 in traffic. This is what it's all about, keeping the fleet on the move." Across from the depot, one of Bath Road's 47s, number 805, leaves Temple Meads with the 1V49 York to Exeter. We returned to the depot 8 days later, on May the 26th, to witness a day of triumph and sadness, the last official day of full operation at Bath Road. However, this is a depot with proud traditions, and it was going to bow out in fine style. Today, the res engines are parked out of sight behind the jacking shed. Today, it's all change. There's even the rare sight of an EPS 37 on the move. Alongside is a Class 46 Peak, D172 Ixion, which is being prepared for the following day's rail tour from Bristol to Newcastle. Shades of a bygone era, and not a Res 47 in sight. When it was introduced in July 1962, this Peak represented the new order on British Railways, diesel traction. 33 years later, D172 represents another new order, that of the brave new world of railway privatisation. The 138-ton veteran is now owned and operated by Waterman Railways. Inside the jacking shed, 47816 is being prepared for its moment of glory. The staff at Marsh Junction have paid attention to every detail, as this loco will proudly carry the name of Bristol Bath Road. As the midday ceremony draws near, the two JCs, John Cronin and John Cameron, confer over last-minute arrangements. But it's business as usual, even on the final day, as another 47-8 calls in for a service. Fittingly, it's 47805, the previous carrier of the Bristol Bath Road nameplates. It's too good an opportunity to miss. The Bristolian headboard is given a rare outing from the depot storeroom. Staff past and present were invited to attend the ceremony, and this photographic display served as a reminder to one and all of the depot's long and glorious history. By midday, the guests had all assembled, the Peak providing a nostalgic reminder of a bygone era. Bath Road was now ready for its finest hour, the presentation of the ISO 9002 Quality Award and the naming of 47816. The man chosen to officiate was the retired former depot engineer, Terry Henley.
Without any further ado, I'd like to invite John, who is now the depot engineer, to receive the certificate. 97. 575. John, it's with pleasure that I present you with this certificate. There's a lot of work gone into it. We've been, what, 4.5 years, 5 years. But to get the ISO 9002 award, which is the top award, accept it with pride. And I think you, your management, supervisors, and all of the staff, including Trevor Jones, might I ask, deserve you. Congratulations.
Terry, I now invite you to name one of our finest, one of our quality specimens, 47816, who will carry the name Bath Road Quality Approved. Thank you, Terry.
and it gave me great pleasure then, it was an honour, and the honour is still there now, and it's with pleasure that I unveil this plate, Bath Road.
In fact, Terry had named all 3 locomotives Bath Road. Surely a record. And these are the men and women of Bristol Bath Road who contributed to the depot's successful achievement. This last historic team photo marks the final chapter in the story of one of Britain's most famous diesel depots. There remained just one final task, the unveiling of the star of the show. The locomotives paid their tribute too, as 47816 took its place alongside the Peak and the Class 37 in a specially arranged final locomotive lineup. Bath Road bows out in style.